Question.
Thank you, Chair. So a question for Jonathan Brearley as Chief Exec. So against the backdrop that households and businesses face at the minute with exorbitantly high energy costs, I want to pick up on a story that was in the press this week. You've probably seen it about staff networks within Ofgem and the time and cost that are associated to those, and the cost of the taxpayer in particular. And I want to give quite a couple of examples. Cultural crowns, the art and history of black hair, pride in intersectionality, perspectives from rainbow regulators. Against that backdrop, how do you justify spending tens of thousands of pounds of taxpayers' money on this, particularly when your remit is to regulate electricity and downstream gas markets?
Sure. Look, we have a big team. We have a team where we work hard to make sure that people collaborate and they get together in all sorts of different ways. So therefore, investing some money in making sure we are allowing staff to network with each other and to also to promote diversity. We do think that's an important element of our job. It's something that I think we stand by. Now, we have stopped that, as you know, in 2024. But I've been on record since I started this role saying that as a regulator, we regulate for the whole country. If we don't make up that whole country, if we don't understand the rest of the country, it's hard for us to do our job. So as far as I'm concerned, these are the sorts of things, these are the sorts of events that actually make a difference and improve our effectiveness rather than take it away.
I mean, I beg to differ. I mean, look, I'm someone who believes absolutely in the liberty of the individual to sort of, spend time on whatever interests that pursue them. But I think the taxpayer would sort of question, these topics. I'm not singling anything out in particular, but I picked those two as an example, the art and history of black hair, the relevance of that, to your remit. I mean, I just think there's a massive disconnect there between...
What does it say?
And as an employer...
Valid question. It's a taxpayer-funded organisation.
Can we just go through the chair, please?
So look, I mean, I think the position I maintain is that we want to make sure that Ofgem is a place where people can collaborate and people can come to work and be comfortable. We, the management, don't pick the topics they get focused on. Staff networks themselves do. Now, we have taken that back in 2024, but my personal commitment to having a diverse team who can understand all of the challenges that our customers face remains.
The CEO of Ofgem, Jonathan Brearley, faced a grilling in Parliament today over the energy regulator's use of taxpayer funds on staff diversity networks and related initiatives, as MPs demanded to know why households and businesses should shoulder record high energy bills while public bodies spend on internal content unrelated to core operations. Appearing before the Business and Trade Committee, Brearley was pressed repeatedly on whether it was appropriate for Ofgem to finance staff networks and diversity initiatives from a budget ultimately sourced from the public, particularly during a period of acute cost of living pressures across the UK. Conservative MP Bradley Thomas led the charge, arguing that, while individual liberty and freedom of expression remain important, there must be clear accountability when taxpayer money is involved. I don't agree that taxpayers should fund content on any topic without question, especially when families and businesses are struggling to keep the lights on and heaters running, Thomas said. There is a balance between supporting workplace culture and respecting the burden on the taxpayer. The committee raised concerns about Ofgem's funding of internal diversity networks, unconscious bias training, and communications initiatives, with some MPs characterizing these as non-essential expenditures at a time when the regulator itself acknowledges the acute pressures facing consumers. Brearley defended the spending, arguing that Ofgem's commitment to diversity and inclusion within its workforce is vital for ensuring the regulator reflects the communities it serves, and that diverse perspectives improve regulatory outcome. The exchange reflects growing public and political frustration, with regulatory bodies perceived as out of touch, while energy bills remain stubbornly high despite wholesale price drops. Consumer groups have criticized Ofgem for failing to act quickly to protect households during the energy crisis, with many now questioning whether the regulator's focus is too diluted. Labour committee members were more measured, noting that supporting staff diversity networks is standard practice across public and private sectors, but emphasised that all spending must demonstrate value. The clash over Ofgem's diversity spending is part of a wider debate about how taxpayer-funded bodies prioritize resources during a time of national financial strain. As public tolerance for perceived non-essential spending wanes, regulators and government departments may face increasing demands to demonstrate that every line of expenditure is delivering value aligned with their core missions. For now, Brearley's appearance before Parliament underscores a simple, pressing tension: how to maintain internal workplace culture commitments while being seen to prioritize the needs of households and businesses struggling with relentless energy costs. With pressure mounting on Ofgem to deliver lower bills and tighter oversight, Brearley and the regulator now face a challenge that goes beyond managing Britain's energy markets. They must also rebuild public confidence that the regulator is focused on the essentials, not just the optics. And now we come to the next news. Former MP Anna Firth shares her anger at the story of one of Ed Miliband's aides, sent halfway around the world to scout out the British delegation's accommodation, despite apparent net zero interests.
I can now bring you a story that is on page 7 of tomorrow's Sun newspaper, and you are gonna love this. I think we can bring it up, hopefully. There he is, look at this. Ed Miliband has sent an aide, a member of staff, on a 10,000-mile jungle jolly to go and check hotels. I'll read you a bit more detail. Ed Miliband's Net Zero department sent a health and safety inspector on a 10,000-mile round trip to check that the hotels were okay. Just one civil servant, apparently, got onto a gas-guzzling flight to Brazil and back to scout out the British delegation's accommodation for an upcoming summit on climate change. You could not make this up. It was funded by you, the taxpayer, and it was last night branded a jolly in the jungle. The Energy Secretary was accused of hypocrisy for sending staff 10,000 miles to check whether or not his hotel in Brazil is nice enough. What a complete pillock, Lewis.
I don't think it's a complete pillock. We've all checked into hotels and you just hate the person, your girlfriend or ex-wife or something, or maybe Anna in the future, who booked this hotel, and they don't, they think you can live anywhere. You can't live anywhere. You're Louis Schaefer. You're from New York. Actually, I can. But that's what it is. But the truth is this is a non-story, because climate change is dead as an issue, and it will be dead as an issue. Every single day, more and more people realize that they've been lied to about climate change.
I totally disagree, Lewis, but particularly on some of the other, your first point.
Yeah.
About any future. I don't think we have a future, I'm afraid. I'm really sorry to break that to you live on air.
On the air.
Let's get back. Let's get back to this. The reason that this is so... I'm furious about this.
Yeah.
This guy can ring up anybody in any of these hotels, in any of these towns, and he can ask for videos to be sent.
Of course.
He could go on booking.com like the rest of us. There'll be reciprocal arrangements with embassies, with clubs, goodness knows what else. There's no need at all. It shows how out of touch he is.
And as ever, they get done by some absolute numpty behind the scenes. This numpty happens to be called John Gaunt. It's not that John Gaunt, it's a different John Gaunt, who is a health and safety advisor. You know what he did? It looks like he posted it on LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, he has done this. This past few days, I've been privileged enough to be in, I don't know how you pronounce this, Belém, in Brazil, doing health and safety checks on various hotels earmarked for COP30. The journey there took 23 hours. The journey home will take the same. Currently in Lisbon Airport, waiting on my flight to Heathrow. Despite all that, it's been an incredible experience. When I started my new job, I never dreamt I'd be travelling this far. But sometimes life deals you a good hand, idiot.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like the Sun have done an absolute job in him, but, what's funny about this, with the net zero thing, it seems to be like zero irony lost on this civil servant who's agreed to go on this journey and then post about it. I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, it talks about Alok Air Miles, who also was previously criticised for doing that, but he's done tenfold the price.
Does Chris believe that climate change is a scam?
It's not a scam, no.
Put upon by left-wing people like yourself who want to take over the entire world, so they manipulate.
I mean, if you want to help
Why
me
don't you
take over the world...
apologise to the people out there? You should apologise. And you know what? You should apologise too. You're even worse than he is because you don't love him.
Right.
I knew you were looking a bit.
I love his tiff.
Yes, you just basically crushed my hopes and dreams.
Okay,